07-13092.
Every week inside our county courthouses, banks are trying to sell hundreds of foreclosed homes, half off, with little success.
Sold to the plaintiff for $100.
This is the story of one of them.
When we bought this house, our intention was to stay here for about 10 years, hopefully build enough equity with the improvements and sell it at a profit to have like a little nest egg for retirement. They qualified me for the mortgage.
Just by your credit score alone?
My credit score alone.
Worried she would be priced out of South Florida, Kathy DeThomas took the money. Her home, once appraised at $400,000, is on the market today for $250,000. 4 months, not a single offer.
The idea of going into foreclosure for me from a Midwestern viewpoint is you just don't do that.
Despite her best efforts, she just missed her first mortgage payment.
I don't think I'll ever have the possibility of owning a home down here again or anywhere else for a good long time. And at my age, that's even more depressing because, you know, if I were my son's age, it'd be different. You can recover, you can build up again, you can give it another shot. But I'm at a point in my life where you don't get that many more shots.
In April 2005, the Miami-Dade Housing Authority created a list for anyone who needed affordable housing. 40,000 people signed up. 3 years later, 25,000 people are on the list, still waiting for a phone call back. Here is one of the lucky ones.
I never fathomed that we would find ourselves in this situation.
Cassandra got help from the agency, set up in Section 8 housing. But when the landlord stole their money and her husband lost his job in a slumping construction market, they ended up here.
The situation was either here or our van, you know, and we're a family of 4 and we can't very well stay in our van, you know. Yeah.
In a modest South Florida home, Cassandra is raising her family and losing sleep over it.
Because it's not comfortable. This is not our house. No.
She's actually living in foreclosure. No, really. The house is a bank-owned foreclosure.
Anytime now, between Monday and Friday, between 9 to 5 is the most nerve-wracking. Because, of course, the city is open and operable then.
The location, new locks, power, all provided by a community activist who views himself as a modern-day Robin Hood.
No. We're liberating these units. We're liberating these places that are boarded up and locked up like the prisons, and we're liberating them.
So far, Max Rameau has, quote, liberated a half a dozen foreclosures to struggling families. He has plans for dozens more, despite threats by the law.
The law certainly has some value. I think there are times when the law, you can't obey the law. If slavery were legal, I think we would be obligated to disobey slavery. And now if we have vacant housing while there are people homeless on the street with children living on the street, I think we have an obligation to make those units available. We take back land, we take back housing, and we take control of our own destiny and our own situation.
There are a lot of government entities that are set up and designed to help us, but they don't really want to do that. Their hearts are not there. They're basically for a paycheck, you know, and we found that out the hard way.
Then there are those who fled. In a printing press about 100 miles southwest of Charlotte, North Carolina, you'll find dozens of South Floridians hard at work.
I tried to stay in South Florida and no, I don't think anybody who I talked to really thought I was going to move.
In 2007, during our record year for foreclosures, Larry Kudaviz decided he had enough.
Listen, if you can't afford to live, and you can't afford to pay your taxes, and you're living week to week or less than week to week, you're not happy. You can't say this on camera, but you walk into someone and you say hi, they say, you know what I mean? And they say, you know, they grumble. Here you smile, everyone says hello. Miami, Horatio came from Miami. Mario came from Miami.
Employees were given the opportunity to follow him to South Carolina. Dozens did in pursuit of something they couldn't afford in Florida, the American dream.
I think that we're going to find it. I already have my wife is pregnant here. We're going to have a boy in South Carolina.
George is making just as much as he did in South Florida. The only difference,
How much for something like this?
$182,500 for this particular house. In our marketplace, the average price home is right in the $186,000, $187,000 price range.
Genesis' exit out of South Florida. Is it just the tip of an exodus?
It kind of started slowly, and none of us realized it was happening until all of a sudden every broker that I know had people in their office out showing property to families from Florida.
Patrick Mason owns Carolina Living, a magazine that markets to out-of-towners. His research shows for the first time ever, Florida is now the #1 exporter of people to South Carolina.
The people are seeking good value. They're leaving high-cost regions and looking for reasonable cost regions.
Life in Florida's foreclosure capital.
South Florida has a real big issue. What's going to be with it? I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller, but I know I wasn't going to wait around to be a byproduct of what happened. I was going to go make my own destiny.
Where American dreams are struggling.
I don't think the middle class can survive here. You know, your nurses and teachers and postal workers and all of us middle professional people who aren't upper management and aren't poor. It's like we don't have an option.
And many are caught in the middle.
Every day, it's getting worse. Every hour, it's getting worse and harder for people to survive. There are people who commit suicide over the same situation, It's just that serious.